I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Hella 500 Black Magic driving lamp kit fitting all 1987 and up Wranglers. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this light kit, which I am going to give a 2 out of 3 wrenches. This kit does come with a wiring harness, but it is not a plug-and-play wiring harness. You are still going to have to do some soldering or use some other connectors to get the wiring harness put together. So it's not going to be quite as simple as the plug-and-play harness that you might get with some other brands such as KC Highlights. However, it is going to be better than having to piece an entire harness together from scratch, which would be the other option. We're also going to talk through the light output and the beam pattern that these lights provide, a little bit more about the construction, and a few of the other features of these lights. These lights are going to be for those of you who want to add some auxiliary lighting onto your Wrangler. Now these are a driving light pattern, which means they have a fairly low and wide pattern to them. They're not going to be as low and wide as a fog, but certainly not as pointy and far-reaching as a spot. They will be somewhere in the middle there. Now, I did turn these lights on and test them, and while they do have a fairly focused beam, I don't think that these are something you're going to be able to run on the road while you're driving with oncoming traffic. These will be lights that you can certainly flick on when you're on those dark back roads, when there's no oncoming traffic, or of course when you're on the trails. These do come with the wiring harness, as I mentioned before, although it is a little bit more of a piece it together yourself wiring harness than a complete plug and play one. And the thing that really sets these lights apart from a lot of the other ones on the market, and the reason that you might be looking at these lights in particular, even as opposed to the other Hella 500 lights, is this is the Black Magic version. And what that means, I had to take the cover off of this light here to show you, is that when this light is turned off, the reflector looks to be black, so it doesn't show up quite as much as a shiny, bright silver reflector would on some of the other auxiliary lights for your Jeep. So that definitely gives this a bit of a unique look, and a lot of you guys think it looks pretty cool. As far as construction goes, these are ABS plastic housings. Now, some of you might think, great, I don't have to worry about scratching it, I don't have to worry about it rusting or corroding. Plastic is a good option for a light housing. But there's a whole nother group of you that are a little bit more old school that want a metal housing on their light. So I don't think plastic is necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that I wanted to point out to you. The source of light that you get with these driving lamps is a 55-watt halogen bulb. So this is going to be a little bit of a yellower light and not as crisp and clean as, say, a more modern LED light would be. The reflector on these lights is vapor coated, which gives it that black look, but also still allows it to throw light and in a fairly focused beam pattern. These lights come with a single post mount that is adjustable like most other auxiliary lights you'll find. These do come with the Hella light covers. In a lot of areas, you're not allowed to run an auxiliary light on your vehicle, even when it's shut off, without a cover on it, because they can actually catch oncoming cars' headlight light and bounce that back into that driver's eye. So a lot of the time you have to have them covered. Hella provides those covers right in the packaging for you, which again is a pretty nice feature. As far as the wiring harness goes, on these lights you do have just a 2-wire pigtail. So you are going to have to attach these wires from both your lights into your wiring harness. From there you're going to have to pick up your 12 volts at your battery as well as your ground, and you are going to have to pull a wire through the firewall for your switch. This does come with a switch, a fuse, and a relay, and all the wiring you're going to need. However, you are going to have to put all of that wiring together. So if you're somebody who's not necessarily comfortable with automotive wiring, even though this comes with a wiring harness, I would probably recommend taking these lights to a shop to have them installed. So as I said before, I am giving this a 2 out of 3 wrenches for the installation, and the reason for that is the type of wiring harness that this comes with. If you're not somebody who's into automotive wiring, you'll want to take this somewhere to have it installed. Even though it comes with a harness, there's still a lot of wiring, splicing, and making of connections that you'll need to do. As far as getting the lights themselves mounted to the Jeep, that's going to be very, very easy. They come with the traditional single post mount. You can put these on any bumper mounted light tab. You could even put these on your A-pillar, on a roof rack. You have a lot of different options that you can put these. The whole installation for this setup will probably take you around 2 hours depending on how careful you want to be when you're running your wiring and how cleanly you want to run that. And as far as tools, you are going to need your traditional hand tools to get the lights mounted up, and you are going to need your wiring tools to get the wiring harness installed if you decide to tackle this yourself. Hell, it does include some butt splices to make these connections. However, if you decide you would like to solder your connections, of course, a soldering iron and some heat shrink are a really nice way of making sure that all those connections are gonna stay intact for a good long time. These lights come in at just over $100, and for a set of Hella lights, which have a good quality name brand behind them, that does seem to be fairly inexpensive. But when you start thinking about the whole package that you get with these, you're getting a plastic housing instead of a metal one, which is a little bit less expensive to manufacture. You're getting a wiring harness, but it is a do-it-yourself wiring harness that still requires a lot of wiring. And the light output from these, while they are 55-watt halogen bulbs, it is going to be a little bit more of a yellow dim light than, say, an LED would be. So all of a sudden, the $110 price tag does seem to make a lot of sense for these. I think it's a fair price for what you're getting. So if you're looking for some auxiliary driving lights to put on your Wrangler and you like the idea of having a light that looks black when it's not turned on, and you're okay doing a little bit of wiring or possibly taking this to a shop to having them installed, I think you can get away with a pretty good light for just a little bit over $100. So that's my review of the Hella 500 Blackmagic Driving Light Lamp Kit fitting all 1987 and up Wranglers that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.